Hello, I'm Marc Sumner, host of the Channel Chat podcast show, and today I have Guy Marsh, the VP of EMEA Channels at Tenable, in the studio. How are we doing, Guy?
Hi, Mark. Very good to be here. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks for coming in. Guy, normally when I get someone in the studio, I scour their LinkedIn profile and I have a look through their LinkedIn profile and find something a bit interesting. And I don't know if this is interesting or not, but I was quite inspired by it because I thought, I actually didn't know what it was when I actually looked at it. You did, at university, Earth Sciences. Now,
Correct.
For the listeners that don't know that, what is that?
That is geology and physical geography.
And what inspired you to do that course?
Yeah, good question. I mean, back then I didn't really know what I wanted to do career-wise, and so I was always very interested in geography. So, university was a natural thing for me to do after A-levels, and I wanted to do a course that I was interested in. So this was obviously pre-internet. Pre-cybersecurity. So, it worked out very well.
And when I looked at your career today, you've been 20 years plus in cybersecurity now. What attracted you to the industry?
It wasn't really an attraction, it was luck, I would say. As I say, I came out of university not really knowing what I wanted to do, moved back to Cambridge. There was a lot of startup companies coming out of the university, a lot of IT startups, so I worked for a couple of those. That was quite interesting. I initially went quite technical in my role and actually did some programming, worked in support, in post-sales for a bit, and then saw an ad working for Computer Links, who obviously now is part of Arrow, and the rest is history, yeah. So joined there not really knowing a lot about cybersecurity, but they took a chance on me and it worked out for the best.
I've had a couple of guests on before who started in a sort of technical role. Do you think it's an advantage going in technical and learning in sales, or do you think it's worth actually being in sales first and trying to be technical? What's an advantage for both those routes?
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I think, I was never an out-and-out techie. I was actually more enjoyed talking to people. So, I wasn't a sort of back office kind of person. I was always, enjoying explaining technology to people, which obviously is pretty much instantly transferable to a role in pre-sales as an SE. So, that was my first starting role at Computer Links. It definitely gave me an advantage, but when you're not using technical knowledge, you lose it quite quickly. So obviously you gain different skills working in sales, but you can't do both essentially, because obviously new techies are coming along all the time and obviously replacing the role that you were doing quite quickly. So yeah, I think it's advantageous to have a general knowledge of the industry, but it's not essential.
How do you keep updated with sort of technology that moves on sort of quite quickly, because security is always moving, technological change is always happening? Do you sort of try and keep up to date with those, or do you just use your sales skills to think, do you know what, I can get away with this?
Yeah, I mean, it's a bit of both. I think it's impossible to keep up with everything. I mean, we're pretty obviously laser focused on the world that we inhabit as a vendor now at Tenable. The outside industry, obviously it's good to know what's going on and macro trends and things like that. But so I try and keep in touch with the IT press and the general news, but I wouldn't say I go much deeper than that. One
of the things I noticed on your profile, Guy, as well, Computer Links were bought by Arrow, Blue Coat were bought by Symantec. What's it like being acquired by a company? Does it sort of affect your trajectory of trying to get promoted, or how does it work for you sort of internally? Is it sort of quite discombobulating, sort of getting acquired?
Yeah, I didn't set out obviously with that strategy, but it's just the way it kind of played out. I think you learn a lot in that situation. It might be quite unsettling to start with when you're being acquired. Even if companies say nothing changes, everything does change. Yeah. In reality. So, you've got different colleagues, you've got kind of different cultures, you've got, lots of different things that often are coming together. I've always sort of stuck to my principles, which is sort of back yourself, do the things that are important to you. My parents always taught me, work hard, be nice to people, essentially. And they're two great values, I think, in that situation. If you make yourself visible, you get out there, you help people do business, you help salespeople close deals, then I'm a believer that, good things happen then. So personally, I learned a lot during that process. It was pretty tough at times, particularly going into Symantec and then into Broadcom, but it was a great experience, yeah, and I've got a lot of good friends that I made then that I'm still in touch with now.
Sometimes when the acquiring company, they might cut out leadership, maybe roles would get forgotten, etc. I'd rather be potentially the acquirer than being acquired, but is there an advantage to being acquired? Can you still stand out and get recognised?
I think visibility is the most important thing. If you can make yourself visible and align with the values of the new company, then you're going to be in a good position. So, not forget about where you've come from. Obviously, take the good things that you've learned from that, but obviously make sure you align with the culture of the new organisation as quickly as possible. And be present, be visible, get to know everybody. They're the most important things.
Someone said to me yesterday, they said, did I know that it was 5 years today when COVID started? I said, no, I didn't know that. And I looked at your LinkedIn profile and you started 5 years this month at Tenable. So you started right as COVID started.
I did.
So why did you join? Why were you looking for a job right as COVID started?
Well, very simply because I left Broadcom. Obviously, Symantec went into Broadcom. I did a 3-month stint there. That was a temporary contract, and then I left. So obviously, I was looking for a new role back then. Obviously, didn't realise the way things were going to accelerate with COVID, and there was a few of us that started right at the beginning of March. I was one of the lucky ones because I did get into the office and meet my colleagues at least for a couple of days. But then the end of my first week was mandatory working from home, and then whole country in lockdown in week 2. So it was a bit of a bizarre experience. But I've said many times to people, we're fortunate to work in the industry that we're in, that we could pivot overnight to remote working. I've got friends who are running restaurants and working in the airline business, and obviously their business just stopped overnight. So it wasn't ideal, but it actually, we learnt a lot. Obviously managing a team around EMEA, but managing remotely was quite challenging, but ultimately worked out all right.
Has your management style changed? Because if you started in COVID, you've then been forced to work remotely, and now everyone's wanting to come out a bit more, and events are happening, and all et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Has your style of management changed, or are you still, because you've had to have a diverse team across EMEA, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
So has it changed at all over that 5-year period?
Yeah, I've definitely taken the positives from that. I think, I manage based on outcomes. So if people are doing their number, if their partners are happy, I get good feedback on them. Generally, things are good, right? So I think being able to scale yourself and leverage the tools effectively for remote working, because obviously managing a team around EMEA, I can't be traveling every single week. There's other stuff to do, and so I think it's marrying the two together. We learnt a lot during that era, and obviously travel now is picking up again. But I definitely bring both skill sets together there.
And in your current role, how much is an EMEA director travelling? How much are you going to different regions?
I try and travel as often as I can. I mean, it's probably not as much as I'd like to, ideally, because there's obviously a lot of other stuff going on, and travel can be quite disruptive, and all the other important things that are going on. So I definitely try and travel, roughly sort of twice a month, something like that, as a rule, if I can. And then obviously getting into the UK office, which is not particularly close to where I live as well. Just making an effort to be connected.
And when you're on those EMEA visits, are you purely just seeing channel partners, or what's the objective?
It's a mixture of seeing channel partners and obviously building relationships with those guys and connecting with my team as well. That's obviously important to spend time, not just with them, but their colleagues, sales teams, the SEs, the marketing folks, professional services, whoever's in the regional offices. I like to stay connected with them as well.
I'm making a few assumptions, Guy, but across the EMEA channel, the IT channel, that region, very, very diverse. How do you balance the different channel partners out there and their needs?
Yeah, I think, often when vendors are looking for EMEA-based roles, they obsess on having a lot of EMEA experience. And I actually didn't have much EMEA experience coming into Tenable, but I was confident in what I did well in the UK would be instantly transferable if I was present in some of the other regions. So, fundamentally partners want the same thing. They want vendors they can trust, they want to make money, they want good engagement with their local channel resources. And I think if you can listen to, obviously the sort of cultural sensitivities of doing business in different regions, listen first, talk second, I always say. I think that's important. And then, I honestly haven't found it that difficult, really, compared to just what works in the UK. I think is very transferable elsewhere as well.
Have you got any sort of strategies that are working to sort of foster those long-term relationships with those sort of partners? And it could be different partners in different regions, but what's the sort of strategy that you're employing to sort of get those relationships going in those regions?
Surround yourself by good people.
Good people.
Very simply. And help make them successful so that they have a long career working for you. I think that's the secret to it. So, I don't profess to know more than they do. They're the ones that hold all the key relationships locally. I just help them, remove obstacles so that they can go and be successful and, continue to do what they do.
Guy, have you faced any resistance from partners when you want to change the strategy, whether you've either got a new partner program or new incentives, whatever it is for the partner? Have you ever got any resistance by saying, no, Guy, we're not doing this. We're not interested in you changing?
Yeah, I mean, I think what we've tried to do is be consistent. So we thankfully haven't had too many changes in our program because it's delivering really well. So, I've worked for other companies where the program's changed quite a bit. And that can be pretty disruptive, and partners really just want stability. So we work hard to try and be pretty transparent. Yeah, obviously there are changes from time to time, but we try and think that through from the outside as well as from the inside and put ourselves in the mindset of a partner. But, fundamentally we want to be predictable and to be pretty stable in terms of how we run our channel program.
And what makes a good channel partner, Guy? There'll be lots of partners out there thinking, oh yeah, I'd like to partner with Tenable. Maybe they'll contact you after this podcast, who knows? But there's going to be partners out there who want to partner with Tenable. Do you specifically look for something in a partner that they've got that you think actually this will be a good relationship? How do you decide?
There's a analysis of the existing solutions that they sell, their existing expertise. That's important. Seeing if there's a fit, and then really when you have that first meeting, if you're lucky enough to get in the door, then it's just a feeling that you get, the receptiveness of the engagement, and then not just the meeting, but what happens next. How quickly do they follow up on the actions? Do they really start to drive things of their own accord? I think if you can really get a partner that obviously is very proactive on the back of that initial engagement, you're onto a good thing normally. And then it's really a case of just building out the relationship, obviously getting stakeholder engagement, and then engaging more and more people across both businesses in the partnership. I think that's very important, not just relying on, point-to-point engagement between two people.
And give the listeners a bit of an idea of what that initial engagement was. So you've set up a meeting, partner A is meeting your team in the EMEA, in Germany, wherever it is. What happens in that first meeting?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes that can be born out of luck, right? Because there might be a large project that you just happen to be engaging with on that partner. Had quite a lot of meetings like that have then gone on to generate a lot of other repeat business, a lot of success downstream. So, there's definitely an element, up front that can be purely chance. And then it's a case of understanding when that opportunity comes along. And also just making sure that partner is really aligned with where you want to go as an organisation. One of the things we're looking at the moment is shifting to be a cloud company, for example. So we're actually looking at, taking some partners a little bit more out their comfort zone, existing partners who maybe haven't sold cloud solutions, and we're asking them to do things a little differently for us. And in parallel with that, we're also looking at, more cloud specialist partners as well that maybe we haven't worked with in the past.
Yeah, let's move on to that question, because what is the impact for those partners that are moving to sort of cloud-based security? What's that impact had on sort of channel partnerships?
Fundamentally, vendors still want reach into markets, so the role of the partner is still the same in that respect in terms of getting to more customers. I think what's going on with kind of the cloud marketplaces at the moment is quite challenging for a lot of partners, knowing how to work with organisations like Amazon, for example. That's definitely something that we're seeing quite a big shift in the industry, and so as like many vendors, we're trying to work out, how that fits in with our kind of channel strategy as well. But I think, fundamentally, customers still need, partners to obviously help them integrate pretty complex solutions in the cloud. And I do see more opportunities for partners to work together in the cloud space as well, which obviously is growing at a really, really rapid rate, much faster than traditional on-prem. So collaboration, I think, is key.
Guy, do you have any challenges internally or with partners navigating across maybe Tenable's direct sales force, i.e. they've got a direct sales deal, actually one of them wants to go through the channel? Is there any conflict between the two? Because most companies are thinking, oh, they're channel first, but they're not. Yeah. They've got a direct sales force.
Well, I think that every vendor has a direct sales force in reality, and I think, the collaboration with the channel is as strong really as the communication between both sides. I've seen organisations that are very much an us and them culture, and we work hard at Tenable to kind of avoid that, obviously, and that comes.
What do you do to avoid that? Because I think there'll be a lot of people out there listening thinking, yeah, there's a them and us culture. Some go direct, some go channel. What are the pitfalls? How do you make sure there is not a them and us culture?
First of all, you need an executive team that obviously buy into the channel first culture and not allow reps to take deals direct or dictate terms. That's very important that you have the foundations there. So we've got that, which is great. So I don't need to worry about that side of things. Really then it's about being visible, it's about being engaged with the sales team, being aligned, and also putting yourself in the mindset of a rep. So as a channel person, if I go in and start talking about how many people I've trained up in the past month, they don't care. right? What they care about is pipeline and bookings. So I always say to my team, focus on the important things, think like a salesperson, and then you've got their attention. And always try and be adding value to what the sales team are doing, because we're coin operated as well. We're paid on the success of the region. So, I think if you align based on the terms of the broader sales organisation, then most of those challenges around us and them typically go away quite quickly.
And what does success for you look like, Guy? You mentioned there maybe you're paid on the region or you're paid on the success. The success of the role, is it purely numbers for you, or is there other elements that you think, do you know what, I'm doing a good job here?
At the end of the day, it is the number, right? That's the thing I get measured on each year, and we call that channel in or partner originated. So we're doing really well on that metric. Of course, we get a bigger number every year, like every company. So, it's always a stretch. I'm doing some hiring at the moment to add capacity into the team. That's the obvious measure of success, but it's obviously bigger than that as well. It's obviously, we have a great leadership team at Tenable. I get on really well with everybody there. I'm very well aligned with all of them, and obviously getting them to be part of what we're doing in the channel is really important to me, and getting them to buy in that actually the more time they spend with our partners, the more they're going to benefit and the more we benefit.
How do you ensure that partners are well equipped to handle the new cyber threats out there? What do you offer training, insights? What do you do?
Yeah, good old-fashioned enablement, really. And obviously that's a challenge for partners, because they've got every vendor trying to enable them in their products all the time. So we have a technical champion program called Guardians, which is excellent. So we basically will sponsor people into that program that we identify have a specific skill set around our technology, so that they can become an internal champion for the sellers within that organisation, a reference point for them, really, to sort of demystify what we're doing and kind of coach them when we're not physically there, which is obviously the vast majority of the time in partners. So nothing more complex than that, other than just obviously continuously enabling them.
Do you ever get challenged back, Guy, about your technology, or you're no different from another vendor? There's thousands of security vendors out there. You're coming in, you want to talk to a partner about your solution. Is it that different from anyone else out there? Do you ever get challenged with that?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, obviously we go to Info Security every year. You walk around there and everybody's moving into everyone else's space. It's difficult now, right? Partners have loads of options. So we all remember the days of best of breed and that kind of thing. That's kind of gone now. But, fundamentally, it's really about relationships, right? If you've got a strong relationship with a partner and they want to work with you, that's the most important thing, really. But we recognise that they have lots of options, and we never get complacent around that. So we're always working hard to maintain those relationships.
What's next for Tenable's EMEA Channel strategy? Are there any sort of initiatives coming up, expansions? Are you trying to do anything different at the moment? What's the plan?
Yeah, the strategy's worked really well over the last 5 years. So fundamentally, we're adding more capacity into the team to continue to execute on the same strategy, which is, obviously continuing to grow that channel originated business that we're ultimately measured on. The company's going through quite a significant shift in terms of moving away from what the market knows us as traditional vulnerability management. I say moving away, it's still a core part of what we do.
Yeah.
But now we're selling a platform like a lot of companies, where we're actually consolidating, across a number of different areas around cyber exposure. And cloud security in particular is a very, very fast moving growth market that we're actively moving into. So the focus is changing on that side of things. But fundamentally we want to do bigger deals for longer contracts, and obviously get the channel enabled to really kind of help us identify and spot those opportunities and bring them to us.
And how do you get the channel enabled? What measures are you doing? What things are you doing to enable the channel to be more successful and in turn successful for Tenable?
It's really around adding more resources into the team, right?
Yeah.
So we're putting people into areas where we haven't had channel people on the ground before. So we're trying to reduce the number of countries some people have got to drive stronger focus and ultimately be more present within some of those partners. I'm always a believer that if you can spend time with partners and actually be there more frequently, then you're going to generate more business, right? It's that simple. So we want to continue to coach the rest of our team as well, whether that's the direct sales organisation, the SEs, and the leadership, that you get out what you put in, really, with respect to partners. Something I said at our sales kickoff recently. If you invest the time, then and you get them to drive your agenda and kind of spot opportunities for you, then you get to benefit from that. So
if you could change one thing about how cybersecurity vendors approach channel partnerships, what would it be?
I always encourage our executive team, who don't naturally necessarily spend time with partners, to make an effort to do so and to see what they find out. And I think sometimes channel is seen as a separate entity for the leadership team, and particularly finance and organisations, or teams like that within businesses. So breaking down those barriers and getting them to invest time and actually see that channel isn't isn't complex. There's no mystery to it. It's just spending time with people, finding out what they do, how you can help them, and how they can help you. So that's probably the number one thing that I'm focused on, and we're definitely seeing the benefit from that as well.
Do you have any differences in terms of marketing, either to direct or channel? Is there a different strategy when it comes to sort of channel direct?
Yeah, I mean, we have a great channel marketing team in EMEA who I work very closely with. And then obviously we have field marketing as well. An element of what they do is focused on channel. Actually, my colleague Tess Garner's just been promoted into a global role, but on the back of the great work that she's done over the last 5 years. She was another COVID hire like me. And, Tenable's recognised that actually all the stuff we were doing in EMEA, we weren't always doing the same things in some of the other theatres. So we're now starting to repeat that with her promotion into a global role, in the US and Asia Pacific, which is great. So, definitely channel marketing is very, very important to us. We don't have bottomless, pits of money. So, I think actually the cultural alignment between our business and some of our partners is really, really important to us. And actually, you don't always have to be the one that's spending the most amount of money necessarily. It's really about, aligning on the outcomes and just having that kind of good fit between both organisations that can generate most success, I find.
Yeah, what sort of things are having success? Because I've had a few guests on before about talking about InfoSec last year and the cost of that compared to the sort of deals or inquiries they get in. Where do you see the best dollars being spent in marketing, and do you have a say in it? Are you sort of saying, actually, no, we should be doing this?
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, we haven't done InfoSec for the last 5 or 6 years. So in the time I've been at Tenable, we obviously were in and around the event, but we haven't had a stand there, primarily because of cost. It keeps going up. I've done it for many years, and we've done a lot of other trade shows as well. So we've tended to sort of, kind of fluctuate a little bit around where we've committed to do certain things. And then, we're going to JISEC, for example, in Dubai in a couple of months and things like that. I think really it's just picking the right events and obviously the right outcome. I'm always outcome based on marketing spend. So every dollar we spend, we want to make sure we're seeing, return on our investment. And I think that can be quite difficult sometimes with events. Is obviously quantifying what are you actually getting out the back of it. We've been doing pretty well, right? Even not being present at some events. So that raises the question, are we better off spending it on other things that directly generate leads, tangible outcomes for Tenable?
Like what? What are you actually getting a return on where you're thinking that's worked and I've got a lead from what's worked?
Yeah, I mean, I think, spending time with partners, doing call-out days, again, nothing revolutionary there necessarily, but just really investing time, doing local incentives with partners and really enabling sales teams so that they want to work with us, really, and they want to bring opportunities to us. That, again, that come back to that metric around channel-originated business. That's going really, really well for us. So that side of things is working.
What about you personally, Guy? VP of Channels, being successful in your career, what would be the next opportunity for you where you think, oh, actually, that could be an interesting opportunity? Could be in Tenable, could be somewhere else. What would the role be?
Yeah, well, I only got VP last week, so I'm not looking at SVP just yet.
We'll see if we get your probation.
My boss will be spinning. But no, I mean, look, I love the environment that I'm in. As I say, great team around me. Really enjoy, working for a great company like Tenable. So I think for me, it's helping other people progress as well. I mean, I've been fortunate enough as the team's expanded that I've been able to give opportunities for other people. So I get a lot of satisfaction out of, seeing the team grow with me. But no, it'd be remiss of me to start talking about another promotion at this point. So
I can't headhunt you out just yet.
Not just yet.
I'll be in serious trouble.
Yeah.
If you were going to come outside the industry, though, if you thought, you know what, I've done with security, is there any other industries you'd think actually I'd go into, whether it be AI or completely outside the market?
I honestly haven't given that any thought. I love working in cyber. It's been great for me. I've got no plans to change, really. So, every day I get to deal with different things. It's innovative. It's changing all the time. So yeah, why change?
My last question, and I don't want you to sit on the fence, and I don't want you to say there's any favoritism. I want you to sort of think about what company could be the one to watch in 2025. It could be a partner, a distributor, an MSP, one of your own partners, any company you like. What company in 2025 do you think they will do well?
Yeah, probably no great surprise on this one, as everybody knows them. But I mean, the partnership we have with Softcat continues to amaze me. We are very well aligned from a cultural perspective. We're not necessarily the vendor that's spending the most money with them, but the engagement we have with them is exceptional. Every time I engage with those guys, I'm always impressed by the DNA, the quality of the people, the way that they can take people straight out of university and obviously hang on to them and show them opportunities to progress. So, and every time we kind of have a QBR with them, we often talk about how we're really only just getting started, even though obviously they're a very well-known, huge organisation now doing 3 billion plus. So I do see them, continuing to innovate, and they, just their DNA is very different, I think. So that's a key partnership for us.
Great. Guy, you've been a great guest. Thanks so much for your time.
Thanks, Mark.